In a world where we have everything and it's still not enough, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there's more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old push your way through and claim the deeper, more meaningful life that's calling you.
That's what we invite you to explore with us.
We're your hosts,
Stephanie Allen
and Maren. And this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Yay!
Welcome back to the Soulful Leader Podcast. I'm Maren, and I'm here with Stephanie. And we were talking before we got on about the fact that we all have kind of that one thing that eludes us, right? So for somebody, it might be they just can't make enough money, right? They can't get past that always striving to just barely make ends meet. And for another person who's, I got the money thing covered, but I can't ever quite get healthy enough, right? Or there's somebody who can't ever either gain enough weight or lose enough weight, right? So there seems to be this one thing that each of us has in our lives that we can't figure out. We've tried all the stuff.
We can't master it for some reason. We don't feel like we have mastery over it.
Yeah, it still runs our lives. And we may have all of the other stuff, life is, the reason this came up for me was I was working with a client, and that's one of the things is she's like, I have my whole life is amazing and wonderful. I've been doing personal development work for the last 6 to 10 years, whatever she said. And I'm so good at manifesting things. I've got this, I've got that, I've got the other, and I can't do it in this one area of my life. And it's making me nuts. I can't figure it out. And I thought, isn't that true for for all of us? And I know people hide it well.
or sometimes you get one area of your life you've been focusing on for a long time, and it finally gets it finally harmonizes.
Right.
And then the other shoe falls off over here. And then and so it's you're this balancing, you're trying to have all those, plates spinning, in the circus, where the plate spinner comes along and, just as one starts to get going, the another one over there starts to slow down and you got to spin that one. And then you're running around like your head cut off kind of thing.
I played that game at my studio of, we would get one element of the studio because we served, adults. We had a children's program because it was ballroom dance. We had a kids program. We had an adult program. We had a fitness program. And we get the fitness program whoa, that's rocking. And the adult program had fallen off. And then we'd go and work on the adult program. So yeah, the spinning plates thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's one of the things as leaders, what does this have to do with leadership? Is that there does seem to be, even in our businesses, where it's we can get certain things going and then there's some little piece that keeps eluding us. And the thought for me was that that's intentional. There's a reason that one piece is meant to elude us. So I'm going to share a story. Last week, I was looking for something, and Stephanie, I had been looking for something for months. So someone had told me a story, and I didn't know how to spell the name of the story. So I had been looking online, and I had gotten this, and they had said, I think it's in the back of this book, or maybe this other book. So I had bought 3 books, and I had started to read this book and started to listen to that person. And I was on this whole journey trying to find this one darn thing. And I happened to mention it to Stephanie, and Stephanie looked it up and just, it's right there. Literally it took her about 2 minutes online to find something that I had been looking for about 4 months.
Yeah. And in some of our worlds, we go oh, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that great? But I realized that I had taken away an opportunity of your journey of discovery.
And the good news for me was that I had actually found it, and I had ordered because the book was no longer, the book that it's in is not available online. So I had to order it. So it was on its way to me. And the journey that I had taken, and that's what I realized, was that the journey that I had taken was the real reason that I wanted that thing, that I had this longing for the story that I had heard.
Well, it's like that saying, it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah.
We're trying to rush all our life away only to get to the end of it. For what?
We want the shortcut.
And then we're at the end of it and we're like, oh my God, I wish I had more time. Because we miss the journey. Even all those things like, stop and smell the roses, all those kind of sayings of like, can you be present and not try to figure it out, but to be present to what might be calling you or what might be eluding that you might miss otherwise.
I think that's so key. And, I know for myself, a lot of times when I hear those things, I think of them almost as platitudes. Stop and smell the roses. Yep. Because it's so, yeah. I know that. I know, like my thinking mind knows that.
Mm-hmm.
And having had that experience with you and with, I know how much the book that I read, the lectures that I listened to in the attempt to find this one story, all of the stuff that I did and that I read and how much it changed me and how excited I was about everything that I was learning. And it took me to the next thing and to the next thing, to the next thing, to the point where I kind of almost forgot about the story.
The story may have been that elusive thing to get you on the journey.
Right.
It may not have anything to do with the story.
And so it got me thinking about the one thing in our lives that drives us because it just eludes us. We can't quite figure it out. And the person right next to us be like, it's right there. What are you looking for? It's like you did, right? It's right there. What do you mean you can't find it? It's right here. And so it's not about the person next to us or the judgment that they could do it and I can't. It's about my journey. So every single one of us is going to have the thing that eludes us.
I often say that to my clients who are struggling with pain or illness, who will come and say, can you just fix this? Can you just make it go away? And I go, you might miss it when it's gone.
Right. I'm taking your gift.
Yeah, because there's buried treasure in there. And yeah, I mean, I could help and support, but I don't necessarily look at myself as a fixer, healer, that kind of thing. I look at myself as someone who's a fellow traveler who's standing next to you with a flashlight and someone to kind of bounce things off so I can help guide more than anything and question. Because, when people come in and I recently had that client who had a very short time to live. And, I said, there's lots of gifts in this moment, especially when perhaps that you only have a short time to live, you're able to really, and you feel good because she did. She goes, you have an opportunity to say your goodbyes, to make amends, to be at peace, to really savor all the things you love and find a value and beauty. And we don't know what the overall or the overarching plan of our life is, and whether or not you believe in God or spirit or a friendly universe or not, doesn't matter. There's something that makes our heart beat. There's something that puts air into our lungs. Where do we go when we sleep at night? There's all these questions that we have. I call it the ghost in the machine. That perhaps these seemingly difficult conflicts, challenges, irritations are not meant to be fixed and solved, but they're meant to send you on. They're like your passport on a journey.
I love that image.
That you will discover lands that you've never would have even known were possible or imaginable. You're going to meet people that you didn't even know existed. It's going to put you in a way that is going to develop your character and let go of beliefs and doubts and fears. Like, there's such treasure in the journey. And like what I did with you too, you remind yourself, like, I think we're so created in this world to come up with answers and fixes and solutions. And that when someone disregards your fix or solution, you think, well, that wasn't very grateful of them. They didn't really value or appreciate me, didn't they?
Right.
And obviously they don't want to change, but you might have just taken away a key to their treasure to unlock it.
Yeah. And it's not about, well, then I just won't help anybody. Right.
Right. It's not that.
It's finding that sweet spot of, there are times and places where it's appropriate for somebody to just give us something and it's not ours to work through. Right. And then there are the other times and places where it is ours to work through. And there's something, when I think of this type of work, there's such judgment around it of, well, you can't figure that out. What's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? As if I'm some sort of a failure. Instead of looking at it as heart work, this is something that's going to improve me as a human being, as a person, that's going to change me from the inside out and help me to soar in myself. And when I look at it like that, then it's no longer like, I have to figure this out, and it doesn't feel so crunchy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I mean, I think if you look at anything in your life that may have been or is a challenge to you right now, and you look back, maybe even last month, last year, 10 years, even when you're a child, you're not the same person.
Right.
I can guarantee you, you're not the same person that you are now that you were back then. You might be parts that are similar, but I say the same thing too when I look at when there is a something that you're seeking, that you're longing for, you're going to need to evolve in order to get there. And it's not about getting there. It's about the evolving.
It is. And I'm so glad you brought up longing, because I think for myself anyway, that's a clue for me that it's really important for the piece of me, the part of me that needs to evolve and not just get it. So the places where I have the most longing are the things that will make me, I don't even want to use the word make, that will allow me to become a different person. The person who can have that, the person who can be that, the person that can do that, whatever that longing is, So on a small level, the story, like I now own that story, and I'm so excited. I read it last night. Woo, right? And I also have all of the pieces that went into learning, all the learning and I'm not the same person that started looking for that, 4, 5, 6 months ago. I am definitely a more evolved being. And I can't tell you how excited I am that A, that I have it, and B, that I recognize that, there's that piece where we get past the constant striving, which exhausts. It's just exhausting. We're so exhausted by that thing we long for, that we're striving for. And we have to try this, and we have to do that. We have to buy this solution. We have to do this. We need to take that pill, and we need to.
Yeah. It's a lot of energy.
Oh my God.
And I think sometimes by the time we get there, wherever there is, it's like you finally arrive at your destination and you look back and you're like, wow, is that it? Like I'm here and this is it? I did all of that for this? We can say, well, now what? Instead of like going, wait a minute, I'm not the same person. So in the beginning, the person that I was looking for this longing to manifest or to create or fulfill this longing, I had to change and become and let go of and learn and ask for help and be vulnerable and cry a little and all these things. And now I'm there and I'm like, oh, that's it? I'm here. Well, and to be able to turn around and look back and go, oh, wait a minute. I really grown. I've really changed.
It's not the thing. It's me.
Yeah, it's me. I've changed. And maybe that's been my carrot all along, so that I would evolve and that I would change. And I see this in relationships because I hear again and again people saying, oh, I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. And if I had fill in the blank, enough money or a relationship or the right job, or I lived in a different town, whatever, then I would be happy.
Right. If I just got the promotion.
Right.
If I just had the right team.
And so, but it's this evolution of going for the dream, because that's a good thing. Go for what you want, because it's going to change you.
Well, and that makes me think of the fact that there are multiple roads to Rome, right? And I'm not saying the only way that you get there is by recognizing that you're on the journey and enjoying the journey. That's one way to get there. And it's so much easier when you do that.
Oh, yeah.
The other way to get there.
And how you meet conflict differently.
Oh,
and you're like, okay, this is pruning me. This is helping me evolve.
Right.
And instead of running away or fighting it, you go, okay, what is being asked of me? What do I need to let go of? And what do I need to become? You're gonna focus on the difficulties, totally different, which is going to give you inner resilience.
Yeah. And I'm going to use the story as an example of I allowed myself to take the wandering road to find this one story. And I got completely involved and I enjoyed it. And I read all these other stories and I learned this stuff and I went on this fun journey. And then I also got this bonus of, now I have the story, right? And how often in our lives do we just want to move all that out of the way? That's not important. That's not important. I don't care about that guy. Who told you? Like, blah, blah, blah. I just want
you want
that
the
one
shortcut.
Thing. Give me the shortcut. I want the one thing. And so we don't enjoy the process. Mm-hmm. And we'll probably get there eventually doing that shortcut. Hardcore.
But you miss out of the pruning. You miss out of all the succulence that life is trying to give you.
If you didn't evolve, then something else, that's the spinning plates thing, right? Something else is going to fall because there's still that need in you that needs to, like there's that part of you that needs to evolve and change and become a different person. So some other plate is going to fall and give you another opportunity.
That's right. Well, this has been great. And I think anyone out there listening who's feeling like they're making up a story that they're not good enough or that they can't do it or they've given up hope or they're still fighting, to just stop and notice what the journey has given you. Yeah. Notice how it's actually feeding your soul in ways that you didn't even know possible, and to claim those gifts, because there is a purpose, there is a reason that you have a longing in your heart and a desire, because it's not just about getting it. It's about what's going to happen between point A and point B that is actually the real fruit of your labor.
I love that. So remember, you can find us every other week right here at the Soulful Leader Podcast. And you can also find us on our professional website, tslp.life. We'll see you in 2 weeks on the Soulful Leader Podcast.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader Podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslack. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.